Welcome to The Explainer. We're going to talk about something we all do every day eat. But did you know there's this surprising science hidden inside our table manners? It turns out how we eat isn't just about being polite. Nope, it's actually a direct result of the world around us.
All right, let's dive right in with a sound that can, well, really divide a dinner table slurping. You know the one. In some places, it's seen as super rude, right? But in others, it's the ultimate compliment to the chef. So, what's the deal? What if I told you it's more than just etiquette? What if it's actually a piece of technology?
So, is it just a bad habit that some of us need to unlearn? Or could it be a really sophisticated technique for experiencing flavor in a totally different way? To figure that out, we've got to look way beyond the dinner table. And when I say way beyond, I mean it. We're going to have to zoom out like way, way out. We're starting with the entire planet.
Because believe it or not, this huge difference in table manners, between many Eastern and Western cultures, it all traces back to something super basic. We're talking about the weather.
Okay, so this is where the path splits. Think of it like a major fork in the road for humanity's food journey. You've got these two totally different environments, hot and humid on one side, cool and dry on the other. And they basically set the stage for two completely different food cultures to grow.
So on one hand, picture the warm, humid climates of East Asia. Just perfect for those amazing terraced rice paddies. And then, on the other hand, think about the cooler, drier weather you get in a lot of Europe. Absolutely ideal for things like vineyards and wheat fields. This one difference, just climate, that's the first domino that tips everything else over.
Okay, so if you're in a place like Japan, all that heat and humidity means one thing. Your food is going to spoil, and I mean fast. You can't just leave stuff out. So what do? Well, it forced people to come up with a way to preserve food that didn't try to fight the environment. Instead, they kind of formed an alliance with it, with all the complex, wild microbes that were just naturally floating around in the air. But then you look at the West, and the climate is, well, it's a lot more forgiving. Food spoils way more slowly. This meant that preservation methods could be all about limiting and managing microbes, not just embracing the chaos, right? And this right here leads to a massive split in one of the most basic food technologies humans have. So, that climate divide, it basically forced humanity down two completely different roads. And at the center of both of those roads is one key technology we all still rely on today: fermentation. So, in East Asia, the answer they came up with was wild fermentation. And it's exactly what it sounds like. It's a process that's way less about control and way more about collaboration. You're basically just opening the door and inviting all the diverse, wild microbes from the environment to come on in and do their thing to preserve the food. And that process, that's how we get those incredibly complex, aromatic, and just deeply savory flavors you find in things like miso, soy sauce, and kimchi. It's almost like you're tasting the local microbial landscape. It's terroir. Meanwhile, in the West, a totally different strategy took hold: controlled fermentation. Now, this approach doesn't leave anything to chance. It's all about using very specific, purified starter cultures to get a super consistent, predictable, and stable result every single time. And this is the method that gives us all those stable, familiar flavors we know and love in cheese, yogurt, and sourdough bread. And here's the kicker. It's right here in the actual chemistry of these foods that we finally find the reason for our different table manners.
Okay, so let's recap. We have two different ways of fermenting, both born from two totally different climates. So now, let's connect all that science directly to the act of eating. It's time to finally answer that big question. Why do people slurp?
All right, here's the key. The food that comes from wild fermentation, think of a rich bowl of miso soup, it releases these incredibly complex aromas that are also super fleeting. They're volatile, which is just a fancy way of saying they escape into the air really, really fast. So for the person eating, the challenge becomes, how on earth do you capture all that amazing flavor before it just vanishes? And this, right here, is the hidden genius of slurping. It has nothing to do with eating quickly. It's an absolutely ingenious technique. See, when you slurp, you're not just getting soup. You're actively pulling air into your mouth at the same time. That rush of air is what vaporizes those tricky, volatile aromas and shoots them straight up into your nasal cavity. You get to experience taste and smell all at once. It's like a full stereoscopic flavor experience. It's amazing.
But then you've got the other side of the coin. Those stable, much less volatile flavors from controlled fermentation, well, they just don't need that kind of active participation. The aromas in a piece of cheese or a glass of wine, they aren't going anywhere. They're not going to just disappear in a flash.
And because of that, a whole different culture of eating developed, one that's all about separating the senses. Think about it. First, you gently swirl your wine glass and you smell it, right? To appreciate the bouquet. Then you taste it, quietly. Those are two separate, distinct actions. So in this world, making noise isn't just rude, it's completely unnecessary for the kind of flavor you're trying to experience.
So let's just step back for a second. We've connected climate to microbes, microbes to fermentation, and fermentation all the way to table manners. Wow. So what's the big takeaway here? What does this all really mean? It means that something we might just write off as a quirky, custom, or some arbitrary rule is actually a brilliant, time-tested solution to a very real problem. It's a response to a local environmental challenge. Our food cultures, it turns out, are these deeply rational systems. And once you understand that hidden logic, the why behind it all, it completely changes how you see things. That judgment you might have had just kind of melts away and it's replaced with appreciation. You stop seeing something as strange and you start seeing it for what it is, a really clever solution. And really, that's the big idea to take with you. The next time you run into a cultural difference that seems, a little odd to you, try to stop yourself from asking, why is that so weird? And instead ask a different question. I wonder what problem this is a clever solution to. I guarantee you will be amazed by what you find out.